Hello. If you've clicked on this video to watch an artist document their making process, then welcome. Or if you clicked on this video to see if this artist can do two things at once, or not, also welcome. Hi, I'm Kat. I'm studying for a degree in fine art part-time. And for this part of the unit, I thought I would make a video in the style of a YouTube vlog to act as a bridge between physical and online worlds. This is not a tutorial, this is just me making my work, and it's more about the why than the how. If you just want to see the work complete, just skip to whatever the timestamp is on here. Some context for this piece. I've long been fascinated by the golden records aboard NASA's Voyager missions that was sent into space in the 1970s. When I came across the proposal for an update to these called MIAB, or Message in a Bottle, it really piqued my interest. And more an archive of humanity, this got me thinking about utopias and dystopias and the stories that we consume, from the post-scarcity of Star Trek to the inequities seen in films such as District 9 or Children of Men. A time capsule or a message in a bottle, for me, sits in a liminal space, and it's sort of somewhere between communication and silence, hope and despair, disposable and essential. MIAB proposed a digital archive, and I'm wondering, what gets kept and what might be left of us in an archaeological sense. And I'm using plastic here as both a material and a metaphor for this human era. I'm also looking at this through a postmodernist lens. Would we recognise ourselves in the fragmented data collected? Or, as Grimes put it in the song We Appreciate Power, come on, you're not even alive if you're not backed up on a drive. There's a paradox here for me too, of us humans always searching for the truth and the real, yet we lurch ever more towards an atomized algorithmic existence. I'm drawing on Jean Baudrillard's simulacra and simulations too. I'm a real person, I'm making a real thing, but this video is a simulation. It's edited, it's mediated through a screen to you, it's punctuated by adverts, it's content, and it's a thing to be consumed. So on that note, let's get into it. My initial ideas for these sketches were of split hemispheres if our world was made of plastic. I again looked towards artists such as Sarah Z, Lee Bontecou and Nancy Rubins, who've all used ephemera of everyday objects in their physical practices. I'm using different techniques like knitting and ironing, both to examine the connection of technologies and the disparities formed through invisible labour and consumerism, perhaps seen here in the sheer amount of plastic that I have. I'm using pieces from an earlier exercise of this course, like the embedded plastics that I'm pinning to these forms. They have natural elements like shells and stones, seeds and leaves, as well as broken tiles and glass. They're kind of laminated inside, I guess reinforcing the notion of plastic as something that could contain or preserve. Here I'm just trying out, seeing how I might arrange this piece and how to create the rift between the two hemispheres. So the idea here is that these will be flattened a little bit onto the form. I'm using like a wax-proof paper so that the iron doesn't stick to the plastic. It's sort of giving it texture. Okay, so nearly done. There's still some bits to sort of work through, but probably like it looks obviously really fast on a time lapse, but it is really quick. It's quite with the wax paper, it's quite noisy, so I won't put you through like loads of that. But the iron itself is on like the lowest setting, so you know it doesn't take much. I did find that I needed to have like a second bit of wax paper underneath the actual piece itself, which I just folded over and held so that I could put the top piece on, and yeah, with all the plastic on it, you can barely feel the heat. So yeah, I'm happy with that. You can still see like all of the things that are embedded in the original plastics, which is part of what I wanted. I didn't want to obscure it or anything. So in these sketches, I was taking inspiration from Rodin's The Thinker and Caravaggio's Narcissus for the model I'm using in my sculptural piece. And I'm thinking about our present age of individualism and fragmentation, which competes for our desire for knowledge, and also our increasingly simulated lives in the digital world, where more and more we're both the consumer and the consumed. My thoughts on curation at this point were around vitrines used by artists such as Ebony G, Patterson and David Elman, like some kind of archaeological find to put in a museum. So what is this to do with a message in a bottle? Well, looking at Zhang et al.'s proposal for an update to the Golden Record, known as MIAB, is of an archive of humanity at this point in time, which contains our systems of societies, whether economic, philosophical, scientific, or spiritual. But will this vast amount of data and information truly encapsulate our existence? Or are we now just content with nothing to decipher? Or should someone find it, how might it in turn shape their lives? So a lot of my practice involves me gluing and sticking, and most of the time it is 2D collage, sticking one medium to another. I like to reuse things from different projects. It sort of connects me to them in a different way, I guess. So why am I gluing and sticking on this little artist's model? Well, I like using found objects in my work, and I've had this for I don't know how long. Just sort of hangs about, and I don't really use it for drawing because I don't use figures a lot in my work. But I thought this particular piece sort of needed a figure. I kind of thought for this mass-produced object, perhaps at one point there was an original, a mannequin maybe. But if you asked anyone, or most people today, if you showed them a picture of the original, they would probably think of this because there are so many of them around. And that is the sort of the simulacra, the model of the model, where the original has been lost or could be indistinguishable. I think that is what I am trying to work out in this piece. You might have glimpsed some of this in another clip, but I did this off screen. Was the first couple of things that I made. It's like one of those sort of stress balls that you get, and I had covered with googly eyes. Surveillance, whether that be from authorities or of one another, sort of always watching, always ready, the sort of the hyper conformity that there is. And I thought it kind of looked a little bit like a little Twister sort of shell thing. I guess it's quite a surrealist element to it, and it's very colourful. Everything else is sort of a lot more muted or black and white or translucent, and this is just not that. But yeah, so it may well go inside the structure, or it might be something that the figure sits on outside of it. It's not that I'm being purposely vague about this, but I sort of envisage the work could be taken apart and put back together differently, so it's never just one static object. So we'll see how that goes. I've learned a lot in the making of this video and the physical artwork. Some of these are that I need to work from some kind of script. Even if I deviate from it, I have learned that I am not great at speaking off the cuff. I really enjoy editing. It's like a digital form of collage for me, although it's very easy to get lost in the decision making of what to keep and what to lose. When I started this project, I was working towards a curation of this piece as being somewhat of an archaeological find that you would put in a vitrine in a museum. So not actually possessing any kind of glass case, this proved to be a little tricky to resolve. So it's led me to think about other ways that I could install this in other places. Could the artwork be displayed in some kind of oversized plastic bottle? Could I work with a recycling plant to make that? These might be some interesting avenues to explore. So all the sources that I've used in this video are in the description box below. If you think I've missed any, please let me know in the comments, and apologies to everyone's names who I have mangled in the making of this video.